back in last November. November 21 is when I most recently was living in New York, but I bounced around in the States. New York, Boston, Hawaii primarily were the three main places I had lived. But since November, I've been starting to bounce around the world as I've been building my online business, and I continue to do so. And one of the greatest gifts for me in terms of a learning has been meeting different people and different cultures and just seeing how they go about living. What do they value? What do they not value as much? Because it makes you rethink. Me, I grew up in New York. I grew up about 45 miles north of New York City. That was like the culture. I thought everybody lived that way. The fast pace, just, business, money, all that stuff. I thought that was how everybody lived. And as you
Right.
leave, not just the state or the city, but the country, and you go to these different countries, you really do get to learn about how different people do business, what they value. And it's such a learning, because if you can mix all that stuff together, I think that's where you can really have
Yeah.
all the special gifts of life.
Could you give us an example of what you learned in a different country?
Yeah, I was in Italy and spending most of my time in Florence in November. I was there for about a month, and I started to develop some really good relationships with some of the locals there. And I remember one of the locals, I believe it's him and his wife. They ran it's like a little lounge club type area. So they had a small restaurant, but mainly it was like drinks, nightclub type of thing, but like a small
Yeah.
lounge, you relaxed. And we became friends, my business partner and I, with the two owners. And I was so amazed because as they're making my drink, it would take them like 20 minutes to make one drink. And it's not that they were being lazy. They just poured so much love, wanting it to be the greatest drink in the world. And I'm over there thinking, I'm like, in New York, they would want to make this drink so fast. Why? The faster they make the drink, the faster I can drink the drink, the faster they can have another drink. So they're just taking their time. They want it to be so beautiful, so perfect. They want to make sure we're having such a great time. They're dancing, they're eating a sandwich, dancing with like fist pumping with the sandwich in the air. They just don't care about the money. All they cared about was that everybody there felt like family and was having the best time ever. Money was secondary at best. So for them, it was not about making every dollar they could. It was giving the best possible experience to everybody. So that was a big culture
Yeah.
shock for me. Probably my first culture shock, one of my first culture shocks, I should say, as I started traveling.
Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Like Israel is a very paced place, and when I travel, it always seems to me that people speak really, really slow, like in slow motion, and they walk in the street really slow. Like what's going on? Like we're going right, and we've been like a few years back. We've been to Africa, and there it's like really, really chill, right? And when I came back, it was like 2 months or something in Africa, and then it's like why people are screaming so fast. It's like it's a shock to come back and just to see where you are most of your life, located in this very messy, fast-paced environment, which is like wow. So tell me about your online business. I know that you're doing cold emails, outreach, right? So tell me about that. Why did you come to do that and not other things?
Yeah, I had a tech startup for about 5 years. I started it right before I graduated college, had it for 5 years, sold it in 2019 to a college marketing firm. And what we basically did was we built a platform for college student organizations, and then we would sell into companies like Bank of America, Amazon, Apple, a lot of these large enterprises in the States. They wanted to recruit the students as well as host surveys to our students on the platform. And what we did better than anything else while running that company was getting new business, some of those big brands I just mentioned. And how we got all of those customers was from cold email. So we would cold email these potential clients, we get on phone calls, and then we would, try to, get the new business. As we sold the company, I started to do a lot of work with startups and small businesses. And one of the problems I saw consistent was that companies struggle to get new business opportunities. So one of the startups that I've been advising asked me to speak to his head of sales because she was struggling to get meetings on the books. I talked to her. I found out what the issue was. I went back to their CEO. I said, hey, if you want, I can get you more sales appointments, and I could do it through cold email. So that's when I called up my business partner. We built out our first version of email outreach company, and we've been growing and going strong ever since.
Wow, that's a good story. But tell me, don't you think it's really hard to overcome this huge amount of emails that you need to be focused on your emails while you have so many other things to do and other emails to tend to? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's part of what we've had to make such a focus on over the past year is focusing on systems. It was one of the things that we didn't do, and I didn't do a great job of with my tech start was building really strong systems, not just for myself to be able to implement, but also so that a team could just step in there and implement the systems that I created. And that's been the biggest focus, spending so much time in this business to create repeatable systems that not just I could use or my co-founder could use, but our team could use and implement to make sure that, yeah, there's a ton of stuff going on every right now in the email inbox as we speak. There's a ton of stuff going on, but I have no concern in the world. I could go to the beach today and I will not have a concern in the world because I know that I have a really good team that's able to implement these systems that we've created to make sure that everything goes smoothly and runs as planned. But it took a lot of time and a lot of manual effort on my part to be in the weeds, as they call it, of the business to make sure that those systems could be built.
And what about copywriting, which is so important? What's the title? What's the text? It's so hard to really create something which is creative and still engaging, and you cannot do it like in templates, right? Or can you? I don't know.
Yeah, we've at this point created hundreds and hundreds of templates, both for a first email, but also we do eight follow-up emails, I should say, after we send that first email. So every campaign we do for ourselves or for a customer is a 9-point campaign. So we have all these different templates that we used, and I've done a lot of bad emails in the past. Whether it was in college when I first started emailing, cold email, if you want to call it, to running my startup. So I had to learn the hard way of what doesn't work to learn what does work. So we have a good system that we follow that's able to book meetings for really any customer or any industry, I should say. So yeah, it took a lot of trial and error to get to where we are today, but we're in a good spot right now in terms of knowing what emails resonate with folks across the board.
And is it all emails, or do you have landing pages or a connection to Facebook, other social?
Everything is email. So we pretend like we're a client. So we get an alias, an email for them, and we manage the whole inbox, pretend like we're them, and then just when a potential customer wants to talk to them, we just book the meeting on their calendar. So they don't have to do any of that other work. All they